There's been a tremendous amount of research in America on what are the most important things people can do to raise their level of well-being. And 3 things actually came out. One of them was physical activity. And I'll show you some of the research on that in a second. Second one was the quality of social relationships and social support that you have around you. And the third one, and we'll be talking about that later this morning, was having a sense of purpose in life, goals, something that you're working towards. That is meaning and goals in life. Those 3 things are the 3 things that stand out more than anything else, but we'll talk more about them in a minute. But let me show you just some of the results of research on regular exercise. The physical benefits I think we've known for quite a long time. There are specific medical benefits, especially from aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise is defined as when you raise your pulse, your heart rate, and you are exercising vigorously enough for you to sweat a bit. That's all you have to think about. If I'm sweating, I'm probably aerobic. It doesn't take much more than that. But look at this though, reduced risk of Alzheimer's. People who have aerobic exercise of 2 or 3 times in the week have a 58% less risk of Alzheimer's. There are specific forms of cancer. Even the risk of a stroke can be reduced by 60% by walking 20 minutes a day. And there are various types of cancer, and you lower the probability merely by physical activity. I am not talking about being super fit, but we're talking about a minimum level of regular physical activity in your life. It could be the 20-minute walk a day, the bicycle ride you go for 3 or 4 times in the week. The research seems to be suggesting that regular physical activity affects us mentally as well as physically, and I'll show you some of the research on that. The psychological benefits of regular exercise. It helps reduce depression and anxiety. You feel less depressed, you feel less anxious. It buffers against the toxic effects of stress. So if you've been working under stressful conditions, regular exercise can make you handle that stress and protect you from the onset of the negative and unpleasant symptoms of stress. Slows down physical aging, we feel better about ourselves, and so on. Improves concentration. And when done in the company of others, you get the benefit of social relationships and support. You get a double benefit. So physical activity is not just one of these nice things that we feel we should do. We really must do it, but it's not about becoming ultra fit. Our lives are increasingly sedentary. We sit all day in the office, we drive to work. So there's one neuroscientist who, in a book that he wrote, which I think I've listed at the back there, our brains are still physically wired to walk 12 miles a day. There's still, if you like, the neural networks in the brain. And how many of us walk 12 miles a day? Very, very few. But we don't need to walk 12 miles a day. But our whole evolutionary bodily system is built around being physically active. And modern life is making us more and more passive, more sedentary. That's why there's much more depression, there's much more anxiety. I mean, the United States is 3 times richer in economic terms than it was in the 50s. But depression is 5 times higher now than in the 50s. So as life progresses, becomes more modern, we become more passive, and one of the problems is vulnerability to stress. But this is a helpful concept that you might like to think about. It's called natural exercise. At the bottom, sedentary life. Passive, we go home, we watch television. You know the average mood of people who watch television every night, and some of us do that at stages in our lives, is mild depression. Watching television is not relaxing your body, it's depressing your body. It's actually releasing hormones into your blood system that are associated with lethargy, depression, etc. So, if you do that, and I've done this at certain times in my life, had the habit of relaxing through watching television, you're actually probably harming yourself without realizing it. you'd be much better off doing something physical, some kind of activity. And people say, but I'm too tired to go for a walk. That's the best time to go for a walk, because when you come back from the walk, you're no longer tired. You come back invigorated. That's why the Mental Health Institute of America recommends getting a pet, especially a dog, as a huge boost to people's well-being, because it focuses your energy, your emotions, but more than anything else, it requires you to walk out of the house in the evenings. So the idea is natural exercise. There's planned exercise where you go to the gym or go for long walks. Natural exercise is this concept of just incorporating more activity into your life. For example, something I did a few years ago, I got rid of the power tools in my garden. And when I used to live in Oxford 20 years ago, and I actually had a 200-foot hedge which went round the garden, and I used to cut it by hand. And I actually enjoyed the exercise because you do it rhythmically, you do it almost contemplatively, and you actually find the process, your body kind of slips into a kind of relaxed motion. So getting rid of power tools, walking some of the way to work. So if you have to drive, stop a mile away or half a mile and just walk the last half mile. Cycle some of the way. Walk to the shops if they're close enough, rather than take the car. Carry bags rather than put them in trolleys. See how you can actually get your body to be more physically engaged in the routines of life. And that's the concept of natural exercise. Because a lot of people say, but I don't have time to exercise. Life's too busy. But actually, you can introduce it into the routines of your life. So when you're doing your planning, some of you might think, well, how can I actually do that? And we'll talk about that later on this morning. Just to summarize then, physical activity, sleep, and nutrition have three powerful things in common. They make us feel better in ourselves. They protect us from the effects of stress, the worries, the stresses, the anxieties. And when we do feel stressed, they help us recover more quickly. Which makes you realize, actually, if you do have a sleep problem, or you do have a not perfect, I don't mean a perfect, but a not good diet, and there isn't quite enough physical activity in your life, you are actually undermining your ability to be happy, contented, and more importantly, resilient in the face of difficulties. It really is as simple as that. The challenge, of course, lies in how do I make myself do it? How do I actually get to the point where I go for a run? How do I change these things in my life?